Mr. Binish, can you check your audio video and then sharing option? Palak, are you available? Hello.
Yes, sir. I can. I'm available. I can. I hope you can hear me as well.
I'm able to hear you.
Great.
Can you able to share your screen? You have the permissions.
Sure. So just I hope everyone's present, right? So everyone can hear us very clearly, correct?
Everyone can hear because it is in event mode where you cannot see everyone. They will be
Okay.
in attendees. You can see the
Right.
resource person, Professor Kamran Kutus and Professor
Yeah.
Jagan Shur. They will be interacting with you in question in terms of finance and account area. And students also will put you questions in chat box and then they will ask.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you so much, sir. So
So
hi. Sorry, sir.
could you please try to share your screen so that we'll
Yes,
check.
sir. Yes, sir. I will just do that. So, Binish is going to be taking the session. She's a part of, a specialist team, and she specializes in fixed income as well as the FX market. She comes from the industry with trading experience as well. She can show she's basically an expert when it comes to, just interacting on different Bloomberg topics as well as different Bloomberg asset classes. So over to you, Benish, to take this forward.
Thank you, Palak.
And Palak, please change the presentation powers to Binish.
Okay, so let me just do it. Uh, uh,
Right click
Benish,
on
are you able to do it?
So I don't see a sharing option activated for me at my end.
it is activated on Palak.
How do I edit it?
You right click on Binish
Okay.
and you can see that
Make
make
presenter. Okay,
presenter.
got it. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Uh, if after everything is check is done and we will ask the area chairperson Professor Kamran Kutus will give a introductory speech, then you can start. By the time students all will join. Okay. Binish, you are okay?
Yes, I'm good.
Oh,
I believe my screen is visible now.
sure. Your
Just
screen
making
is
sure
very well
the
visible.
structures
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right, great. Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Bala, how many students are supposed to join today's session?
Sir, it is. I have been given invitation to all the batches across first year and second year, and EPHT, PhD, and EPGXP. But approximately there could be 350 minimum, sir.
Okay.
Now we are got attendance about 300. So we will start, and then they will be joining in between.
Okay. So I would like
Uh,
first, yeah. So should I go ahead?
Yeah. Welcome, Palak and Binish. Welcome to I am Ranchi for this Bloomberg training. We have with us today Professor Kamran Kutus, area chairperson, and Professor Jagan from accounting and finance area. And we have all students and research scholars available as attendees. Over to Kamran, sir. He will be introduce you, and then we will take it for a 1 hour session. And end of the session, we will have a question answer. And the students are always requested to send their question in chat box, and then the resource person will answer that. Over to Kamran, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bala. So first of all, good evening, everybody, and I welcome Palak and Dinesh for taking this opportunity to educate the student body and other academic participants who actually have been actively using the Bloomberg terminal. Uh, Actually, so many requests come from the student body, particularly because as a finance chair, I keep seeing that people come and ask. They keep repeatedly keep asking for how should we do this, how should we do that, and we thought that it would be better if we can just organize one session so that the entire student body they can actually basically acquaint themselves with the basic functionalities of how to use Bloomberg, how to actually download or basically use or do some basic things that is required to complete their project, to complete the group work or other basic assignments that they actually need to do in the process. Okay, so with this idea, this session was organized. And once again, I like to thank both of you for taking this opportunity. I will request all the students who have joined as well as other academic participants who take full use of this opportunity. And if you have any doubts, please feel free to just post it. Okay. So with this, I'll just like to pass on to Binish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamran, and thank you to all for making the time for this session. Firstly, good evening. Welcome to your Bloomberg Navigation and Functions Overview session. My name is Binish Rupani. I'm from the Fixed Income and Advanced News team in India, and I'll be your host for the next 60 minutes
Binish,
today.
sorry to interrupt. Could you please louder? I think your voice is very
Is
low.
this good enough? Is this loud enough? All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So, request any of the panelists to please let me know at any given point of time if there are any infrastructure issues. Palak, you can also let me know on side IB. Thank you. For most of the questions for today, given we have a large batch, I will try to monitor the question and answer chat box that we have on the right. And if I happen to miss or if we run out of time, may I please suggest if the coordinator could curate a list of all of the questions and send it across to us, so we can ensure that we cover all the topics today in a very timely manner. Give me
You
just
would
one
like to
second.
type,
I'm going
and
to check
I
my
would request
screen.
Professor Jagan, you can actually lend a helping hand. So in case there are few questions, if you can just keep track of that, I will also do the same.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. So firstly, to start off with, whenever you're going to log into your Bloomberg terminal, this is what your screen would look like. I hope this is loud enough to let me know just in case if it isn't.
Yes,
Whenever you're
madam,
going to
you are
log into
audible.
your Thank you. Whenever you're going to log into your Bloomberg terminal, you will notice two icons at the bottom of your screen. It'll be a green icon and a red icon. Both are a part of the Bloomberg interface. The green icon denotes the terminal panel, which is this panel that you can see expanded on my screen. And the right icon denotes the Launchpad component, which is basically a way of curating your personalized dashboard. So if you look at the toolbar on the top, this is your Launchpad toolbar, which helps you to basically create your own dashboard with the items that you care about on an intraday basis. We're going to work with the terminal panel to begin with. Now, the Bloomberg terminal is built on functions and securities organized by asset class and common workflows of financial professionals. Understanding the functions, the securities, and how to find and interact with them is key to getting the most from the depth and the breadth of the Bloomberg offerings that we have with us. Functions are basically applications that are designed to provide targeted information and analysis on either the broad financial markets or on a specific security. And functions are grouped together by workflow and are discoverable through a hierarchy of menus. And what I mean by that is when you will log into your Bloomberg terminal and when you see this landing screen, the first screen, you will be able to spot something known as a related functions menu. Now, this menu can help you to navigate around the terminal when you absolutely don't know how to navigate or are new to the terminal simply. The functions over here are available in terms of the groupings that you can see in terms of the markets, news and research, communication and community, economic analysis, so on and so forth, as well as professional applications like your portfolio management and risk, which will be very heavily used by, say, portfolio managers in the industry, pricing and risk solutions, order management systems that will be heavily used by traders, so on and so forth. Now, a good thing to note is that each function on the terminal has a mnemonic or a short form used to identify and access the function quickly. We will come to what these short forms are, how do we discover them, or how do we start using them in the second leg of the session. Now, your securities are basically the financial instruments that you can analyze in the market, and you can load a security to the system and then run a series of functions to find information about the security or perform deeper analysis. And what I mean by that is, if I just simply type in IBM in the command line, which is this blue box that you see, you can see how it simply pulls out this populated list of securities over here. Now, IBM could be referring to an equity ticker, it could be referring to a bond, it could be referring to a credit default swap, so on and so forth. What's good to know is that there are millions of securities in Bloomberg's database that is organized by market sector and by ticker. And when I say ticker, this is something that is very commonly used by most Bloomberg representatives. A ticker is nothing but a security on the terminal. This can be an equity stock, it can be a bond, it can be absolutely a CDS ticker or a term loan. The world is an oyster when you're using Bloomberg and the securities on Bloomberg. Now, Bloomberg provides two main ways to find and interact with functions and securities. If you would have taken notice of the command line on the top, this is where you will be accessing your securities and your functionalities. Now, this command line is going to be available at the top of every Bloomberg screen. The entire system is discoverable from the command line. And as the name suggests, the command line is exactly where you're going to enter your commands to drive the system, but it's also a search bar to find exactly what you need. So at the moment, I'm on this functionality, which is known as the security finder. And basically what this tells you is that this is the entire depository or a repository of all the securities on the terminal. And if you just plainly take a look over here, you're going to notice that it is across categories of different asset classes. You have equities, fixed income, mortgages, commodities, index and statistics, currencies, funds, money market securities, so on and so forth. And then there are subcategories within that. You can see that there are more than 1,000 results, just helping you understand the entire breadth and width of all the securities that we have on the terminal. Now, the command line that I was speaking about of how it's available at the top of every Bloomberg panel, you will notice that now I've opened a fresh panel by simply clicking on this plus icon, and this command line appears over here as well. After knowing what the command line does, it's good to know that the menus over here that are available, they provide you a way to browse the full breadth and the depth of the offerings which you will need. Over here, you'll notice that they're all organized and they start with overall market analysis and allow you to drill down to security specific analysis. And to help you navigate through the terminal, Bloomberg also provides you a unique setup, which is, like you can see, this availability of multiple tabs on the system. So this is your unique Bloomberg panel windows that you can use and conduct analysis side by side, probably going ahead and analyzing one security at a time or analyzing one market at a time, or even probably looking at news all side by side relatively. So you're able to multitask and switch between functions, between securities, also make use of the Bloomberg keyboard. Now, I'm not too sure if you have ever seen the Bloomberg keyboard, but this is what a regular Bloomberg keyboard keys would look like. You would definitely would have seen the keyboard once, and you'll notice that the unique aspect of the Bloomberg keyboard are the unique color-coded keys that makes the logic of the terminal very, very simple to use. So your F keys over here, you will notice how they are defined by asset classes. It says commodity for F9, for instance, currency for F11, for instance, so on and so forth. Now, as we access different securities on the terminal, you will also be able to make sense of what is the part that these Bloomberg keys on the keyboard play when you are loading a particular security. Let me show you how. So this command line is exactly what we will be using to, one, either find a security, or two, find a function, if you know what you're after. And if you don't know what you're after, you can also search by keyword using the same command line. So earlier, what I did is I just simply typed in IBM, and I was able to find a list of securities that references IBM. Right now, if I want to see what is this entire list of securities that references IBM, I'm able to click on more securities and I'm able to check what are these securities. And you can see over here that it is across categories. If I simply choose fixed income, you can simply see that there are up to 1,078 results in terms of the bonds by IBM. You can also see the subcategory over here. Now, that being said, if perhaps I am after something as simple as IBM's revenue in a particular quarter, and I don't know how to go about it, I can start typing out like this. I can just simply make use of the command line, which uses natural language processing, and it answers your question. So for the 2013 Q3 revenue of IBM, I can type it out in the command line and I can have that question answered just simply by using the command line. So this is how you can have your quick answers if you do not know what are the functions you need to use on a particular security to go about it. However, that being said, we will definitely be finding ways to arrive at the end goal. That was the figure that we just checked for the revenue for IBM as well. Now, say for instance, you are not after a particular security or a function, or you just simply wanted to do as something as simple as reading the news. And I can just type it out, news. Very simply put, it's going to take you to a function. This function is known as top news, and it's giving you all the top news in the category over here, like you can see. Now, like we were talking about the functionalities on the terminal, if I wanted to arrive on this function, and the mnemonic, like we spoke about earlier, was top, which is accessible from here, you can actually load this same function again by simply typing out the name of the function. So I can type in top news. I can select it from the drop down under functions, like you can see with the mnemonic or the short form being top, and I can click into it, and it's going to take me to this page. So this is how you could explore the command line to simply find securities, functions, get your quick answers, or explore news, which is a very important part of the Bloomberg terminal. Now, coming back to the initial function that we checked, which was security finder. All the security names are, all the function names are available on the top right, and their mnemonics are available in the middle over here on the top. Now, what does this function do? It allows you to search through Bloomberg's universe of securities and statistics, so you can find the right instrument faster. It's going to return up to 5,000 search results, so you can filter by criteria and by asset class. So you can actually go ahead and select the asset class that you're after over here as well. Now, what you'll notice over here is that the security finder is divided into a control area and a security table, which is here at the bottom, that lists the search results in the order of the relevance to your search. So this would more or less the control area that you see over here, where you're able to add your inputs and you're able to go ahead and find your information. This control area will be pretty standard across different functions that we explore along the way today. Now, say for instance, if I just simply wanted to type out HDFC Bank and from category select fixed income, just to see the bonds by this particular issuer, this is how I could find those securities. You will notice that it has given me several subtabs, and it has also gone ahead and it has given me the list of these securities that are referencing these two keywords. The first tab, which is for corporate bonds, is giving us this list of 13 bonds. You can see several columns that are telling us what exactly are these securities. It's also giving us important information like identifier of the security, the issue date, the country it was issued in, the coupon, which is extremely important when it comes to a debt instrument, the name of the issuer, the ticker, the maturity, so on and so forth. What you'll notice is that if you do plan to replicate this with me, that some of these columns might not load by default. And the reason why is because I have gone ahead and I have added a couple of columns. You can also go ahead and do this to basically see several columns for this list of securities at once. So you have to click on 61 column settings and you would be able to find the different fields. And then under selected items, once you select the field you're after, you're able to see the data for these columns that load for you for the list of securities over here. Now let's try to understand how can we on a individual security level understand a loaded security better. And what I mean by that is that if I click into simply any security over here, like I have clicked into the first security, which was a floating bond, when I click into it, there are two things that happen. It loads into the command line over here and it tells me a little bit about the security. And number 2, it loads this menu for me. Now, where does this menu come from? This is the related functions menu. It's accessible from here even when you click on cancel. Just going to explain a couple of items with respect to what has loaded in the command line over here. It's telling us a little bit about the bond. It's telling us about the last price of the bond with the timestamp and the pricing source, which is BVAL, which is Bloomberg valuation, followed by the change in value for the bond since the previous day close, the bid and ask price, and the bid and ask yield. What's great about whenever you're going to be using Bloomberg is simply the fact that there are hints along the way. So it's going to give you the definitions of all of these fields that you are trying to access. Now, the related functions menu tells us what you can do with this bond further. Simply put, if I wanted to understand or analyze this security and I want to see the description of the security, what exactly is the security, I would run the security description function. If I wanted to price the security, and this is a fixed income security, and if I wanted to see the yield, I would go ahead and use the yield and spread analysis function. So all of these items that you see over here help you to, one, either analyze the market or two, analyze the security broadly. What we will do next is use another example. I'm going to switch to equities over here for HDFC Bank and just simply load an equity ticker. So I have gone ahead and I've loaded HDFC Bank Limited. This is an equity ticker which is quoted in Indian rupee. Here you can see the last price. You can also see that this is the NSE price, as well as see the change from the last close, the volume, the timestamp, as well as the high, the low, and the bid and ask prices in the market. You're also able to see the bid and ask sizes over here. Now, given that we've seen another security this time, if I wanted to go ahead and analyze this equity ticker now, and if I wanted to see the description of it, you see how we have the same function available over here. So the description function will remain standard. You can use the description function across differently loaded or different securities to understand their description. And what I mean by that is that when I just simply type out description in the command line, once I have loaded the security and click on DES, which is the mnemonic or the short form, it gives me the entire consolidated financial data and fundamental background information on the loaded security. So for HDFC Bank Limited, you will notice that firstly, there are 5 subtabs that load for me and they tell me a little bit about what exactly the security is. It gives me the identifier, which is the Fiji, gives me the classification that the security falls under, which is banks. It gives me a research primer, which is good for those involved in a research role to simply understand what the market is making of this loaded ticker. This is by Bloomberg Intelligence Research, which is our in-house research portal. It's also allowing me to draw a chart out of this. It's also telling me a little bit about the ratios, the estimated information for the security, the dividend information, the corporate information, the current management, and if there are any depository receipts. What you will notice along this entire screen is the fact that there are some shortcuts or mnemonics over here. So you would be right in guessing that these by themselves are also functions that you can load on this loaded ticker or this loaded security. Now, the tab number 2, which is for issue information, tells me more. It tells me about the public offerings. It gives me the issue information with respect to the security and what are the related instruments with respect to this loaded security, which is HDFC Bank. It's also telling me in terms of shareholdings and who are the top holders for this particular security in the market. So getting access to such premium information is also one of the highlights of being able to access this using Bloomberg. In terms of ratios, you have all of the ratios readily available for you, so you can simply glance and get on with your analysis. And we have the revenue and EPS subtab where you are able to actually go ahead and compare the earnings per share, compare the revenue, also see the product segmentation, so on and so forth, along with the industry information. So you're able to get a broader top-down approach for this particular security as well. Now, all of what we just saw was simply for the equity ticker. If I was interested in seeing what are the related securities for this particular equity stock, then I can do that by typing in the next function. I'm going to type in related securities, and I'm going to select this function from the drop down. What this does is it tells me the entire profile for this issuer, which is HDFC Bank Limited. You're also able to actually go ahead and see the entire hierarchy over here in terms of who is the ultimate parent, if there are any subsidiaries and where they fall on the left. And on the right, you're able to see if for this particular issuer, if there are any other issued debt, as well as any other debt groupings, any warrants, any derivatives in terms of the futures, options, etc. So in terms of the basic navigation of whenever you are accessing securities on Bloomberg, this is a good to know for you to just simply know that by one issuer or by one company, what are its outstanding instruments in the market. So simply put, if I click into bonds over here, and if I just want to load one of these bonds and show you the description page of any of these bonds, we're going to repeat the process. I click into the security, I type out the function which is description. I click into it. And now this is the description page for a loaded security, which is this bond. Here, you're going to get the typical information that you will see in a prospectus of a bond when it comes out or hits the market. You have your identifiers. You also have the issuer information. You are able to see the coupon frequency, the day count, maturity, the type of bond, as well as the ranking in terms of payment. You're also able to understand what is the settlement date and the first coupon date of this bond, along with the bond ratings that have been assigned by several different credit rating agencies in the market. You're also able to see something very peculiar over here, that the coupon and the principal over here is paid in USD. So this is a little note at the bottom of your description page, which gives you everything you need to know about this bond. Not just this, you're also able to use the pages from the left under 25 bond description to analyze more about it. So for those more familiar with the fixed income market, say for example, if this bond had a step up, you're able to find that out from here. If this bond had a particular trigger, then you're also able to find that over here. You're also able to get access to the tax information, the covenants in the bond, if applicable, the bond ratings and the effective date as well over here, the identifiers, if there are any local identifiers applicable, the exchanges that this bond trades on, and the involved parties, which is also critical for those interested in investment banking, to understand who are the lead managers to the security, who was the syndicate or who was a legal advisor, so on and so forth. Now, this was everything you needed to know about the bond. What about if you wanted to know about the issuer of the bond? You see 26 issuer in description tells you exactly about that issuer. And this, if you note over here next to basic information, gives you the same ticker for the equity ticker that we were analyzing all this while. Please excuse this alert. This is also a good way and good timing of seeing how alerts pop up on the Bloomberg screen. So it's telling us a little bit about the HDFC Bank equity ticker, which is the issuer of this security. You're also able to see the credit rating for this equity ticker directly, as well as the fundamental highlights, company information, and everything that you need to know to analyze the issuer and the security all at once. So this was how you could go ahead and load a different security that was a bond and go ahead and see the description of it. Now next, let's go ahead and load a Forex ticker. Now, if I were interested in simply the Indian rupee, and I wanted to go ahead and see where does it trade at, or what is the description of this particular security in the market. What I can do is just use the command line, type that out, and from the securities, select this. Once it has loaded, you would again see the command line converting into the quote line and telling you similar information like we saw for the equity ticker. You're also noticing that there's a little 2-day price chart available over here. Again, if I wanted to see the description of this forex ticker, I can run DES or the security description page and then see the description for this asset class now. Naturally, it's going to have different parameters involved like the settlement date, the day count, the trading hours for this particular ticker, which is INR, as well as the classification, the forwards market, so on and so forth. You would also notice that every time we have loaded a different security, the suffix has been different. Over here it says currency. Over here it said corp. And when we loaded the equity ticker, it said equity. So if you recall, when we had gone through this image of the Bloomberg keyboard, you will notice that the suffixes are nothing but these yellow keys. So you can see currency, you can see corp, and you can see equity, and so on and so forth. So what you could do is when you wanted to load a particular ticker directly, you could type it out and press the yellow key and arrive on the ticker directly. Last, what we checked was for the Indian rupee and its description. Now let's take a step ahead and let's go ahead and see how can I go ahead and actually create a chart out of the entire movement of the Indian rupee in the market for a particular time period. So in order to go ahead and create a price chart, what I can do is I can just simply type in the function which is line chart and click into it. We have the loaded security, which is Indian rupee, and I can tell you it's loaded because it appears over here. I have loaded the function, which is line chart, and this is what the function looks like. Now, this function allows you to plot security pricing and related market variables on a chart, so you can identify trends for either a security, a set of securities within a given time frame. And the line chart function and its family of other charting functions, they feature various analytical tools, including technical indicators, fundamental data, so you can explore market behavior across intraday and historical data sets. So when I meant that we can actually go ahead and analyze a particular chart further, what I mean by that is that we have several annotation tools on the left. So these are all the annotation tools that you can use to just simply create your own analysis on the chart. And when I meant technical studies, I can actually just simply click over here on edit chart and click on browse data, studies, events, etc. to go ahead and add a particular study or event of my choice. We have a range of studies and events available. And for those familiar with technical analysis, this is the popular list of studies that we have that you can go ahead and map out on the chart. You're able to add moving averages, you're able to draw your candlestick, so on and so forth. So all of the studies are available over here. In terms of events, you can also go ahead and see what events are available. Simply click here, click on events, and it's going to give you the entire list of events available. Economic and financial conditions would be the most popular ones. So if we were charting for a American ticker, it would make sense to use US recession on it. We'll definitely use an example after we've understood how to use the line chart function. So what you're going to notice over here is one that this is telling us the last price for this security, which is the INR spot for the last 1 year. And you're able to see the time series over here as well. So it's taking the prices from the 9th of September 2020 until today. Now, if I wanted to see the maximum movement in terms of price for this particular loaded security, then I'm able to just simply click on max from the top left, and here I've chosen the maximum range over here. So you're also able to see the movement of the INR spot over here. The legend that you can see over here is basically going to summarize exactly the data that you have on your screen. And this amber text box on your right is telling you how you can go ahead and add more data to this particular chart. So if I wanted to go ahead and map USD, I'm able to go ahead and just simply map the US dollar over here. Let me go ahead and plot this against EUR instead to make more sense of it. So I'm able to do that from the amber text box, or I'm also able to click on edit chart and map it from here. So now you can see the movement for EUR as well as the Indian rupee. There's a lot that you can do on this particular screen. You can go ahead and normalize the data. You can also ensure that you're using the same axis. You can create your own axis and also define it in terms of the range. And you're also able to see this data on an intraday level. So you can click here. And if you're interested in, say, for example, intraday data, then you can just simply select your frequency, and then it is going to automatically update for you. So for today, for the trading hours, you can see the movement of both the securities on my screen. Coming back to the line chart functionality, at the top of the screen, you can also update your date parameters. So if you wanted to define the dates or after, you're also able to define that. And you're also able to choose a data series of your preference. So from last price, like you can see over here, if you probably were after a different field, you can click on find all and go ahead and select the field that you're after. And you can go ahead and add your comparative data sets like we checked earlier. Now, perhaps if I were interested in seeing all of this information in a historical price table, I could do that by running another function, which is known as historical price table simply. So I can type out historical price table in the command line. And what this function does, and if you notice, it's using the same loaded ticker, which was the INR spot. It's giving us the multiple pricing factors for a single security, which is INR here, on an easy to scan data table. You can update the table to select your market as well, which means that over here where it's loading the last price, I'm able to also select a different column. If I were after the ask price, I can just update it to ask price, and now you have all of the ask prices for this range of dates. Now this helps you to identify and analyze pricing trends over time. Over here in the control area, you're able to see that there are 3 sections of data. That is the summary data that you can see over here. And a date and day column. Again, you can define it as per your wish. You can go ahead and define the date, press enter or the go key, and it will update accordingly. So you can modify the parameters of your choice, which it could be the date range, it could be the market view, it could be the period that you want to see this data for. For example, if I wanted to see it for quarterly for this date range that I've selected, then it's also going to give me that information over here. It's also giving me the high and the low, and it's giving me also the pricing source for this data. There are 3 views for this table. It could be a price table, it could be a price with percentage change, and it could be an open, high, low, close with percentage change. Over here where it says a summary, you can encapsulate the security's performance in the set of statistics that provides you with a quick look with how the security did over time. So if I wanted to now switch to a different security right from here, and let's just take IBM as an example again. I find it, I click into it, you can see within a matter of seconds how this page loads for a different security. And it also is giving you the summary over here, and it has maintained the previous view. So far what we have done is that we were able to firstly find a security to recap using the security finder function. Next, we're able to load the security and check the description using the security description function. We've also gone ahead and created a price chart using the line chart function, as well as see the historical price table using the historical price table function. We also went through how to find the related securities for a particular loaded company or a ticker. And I hope that so far the command line has been of use in terms of navigating the terminal with respect to the panel that we see. Now, moving on, let's deep dive a little bit with respect to asset class functionalities on the terminal. So I'm going to start off with how we can find economic data on the terminal, which is going to cover a couple of economic functions today. So in terms of the world economic statistics, we have a function known as ECST. The mnemonic is ECST, and the function name is World Economic Statistics. Feel free to use whatever you're more comfortable with. You can use the full form or you can use the mnemonic and you will arrive on the same function. Now, this function provides economic data with organization and context. So here you can see that in the navigation tree, how it is clubbed under different segments. So you're able to find the data that you need through economic category hierarchies. And this data is provided from different sources, as well as different data transformations, frequencies, and seasonality. So you can customize your analysis. And what I mean by that is that when I select a particular country of my choice, which is India over here, for instance, it's allowing you to display the economic statistics and the concepts, and then you can customize the way that the data appears. And what I mean by that is that over here for India, when I click into national accounts, you're able to see how we have the real GDP by expenditure year on year percentage, the nominal GDP year on year percentage. And when I click into either of these, it's giving you the security ticker. It's in the form of an index. And if I wanted to simply see what exactly does this ticker make of in terms of the line chart, then I can just click here in this column and it's going to pull out this little chart at the bottom of your screen. And this is similar to what we just checked on the line chart functionality. What you will also notice here, it gives you the ticker, the values in terms of the current values and the previous values, along with the date that it was calculated on, or for the region, or for the tenor, I'm sorry, that it was calculated for. Now these tickers are accessible. So if you knew the ticker, you could absolutely just use the ticker, and next time you could simply load it on the command line and it will take you directly to that particular ticker. Along with that, what you'll also notice is how we are able to click on each of these different segments and explore the different economic statistics available over here. So if you were after prices, you're able to see the CPI prices. If you were after, simply put, the international trade parameters, and you can come here and see the trade balance. Everything is stickerized and everything can be loaded and analyzed further. And how can you achieve that? You can right click on any of these stickers, and using the related analytics menu, you can see the description, you can see the prices, you can chart it out, and we've already explored all of these. So just simply clicking on the description page, you're able to see how we are able to understand what exactly is this ticker. So here we have the India trade balance in billions available for us, and it's telling us about this loaded security, that it is calculated based on the indicators that are reported by national sources and how it's available on the function we were just checking. It's also going to be able to give you the calculation method. It's giving you a little historical chart over here, as well as the start date and the frequency of this. The source given is Bloomberg. If you wanted to see the related indicators, you could click into the sub-tab here. And what will be useful would be clicking on related news to see how this was captured in different news articles on the terminal. Going back to the homepage of the World Economic Statistics function, say for instance, I did not know how to drill down and find the ticker or that particular economic statistic over here under these little labels. I can click on search, and then I can simply type out what I'm after, press enter, and it's going to simply search through the entire inventory and give you a list of the closest matching tickers. You can see that you're able to apply filters from the left. You're also able to apply different fields. For example, if you want to see the frequency in a different manner, you could go ahead and click in there, and it's going to go on filtering down for you. And then you would have achieved your ticker to understand and analyze that data further. What's great is, if you notice, I've clicked into the first ticker to see where does it fall under the navigation tree. So here, for the nominal GDP by industry, the ticker that I've clicked into, you can see that this is where it falls under the navigation tree of United States, under national accounts, under GDP deflators. You're able to also see the range for this particular ticker. You're able to see the source, which was World Bank Group, as well as you're able to see that this was calculated on an annual basis. So I hope that the World Economic Statistics functionality is useful for you. Next, we can move on to the economic forecasts function. So you can estimate the future trends and compare forecasts for regions while reviewing the spreads between different regions. And how can you do that? You can just simply type out economic forecasts and select the ECFC mnemonic. This function gives you additional ways to identify trends in global economies, and it provides you with contributor forecasts for specific indicators. So you can determine where is the statistical data coming from, along with the forecast from private sector economists. So what I mean by that is that over here, you can see that it has loaded by default for United States. Feel free to please choose the region of your choice by clicking on browse. And the contributor over here is a composite. Now, if you were after a particular contributor, private or public, you can actually go ahead and choose it from this list over here. You're able to also determine whether you want this in terms of the yearly or the quarterly periodicity. And here you have all the forecasts available until 2023 for these following indicators. Now, all of these forecasts that are supplied by our official contributors are by central banks, IMF, OECD, and the European Commission. And all of the private sector economic surveys, they're aggregated, while the official institutions are not aggregated. So this is a good to know. So the statistical data that you can see, it's giving you high level data such as the median, mean, high, and low of all the contributed values going forward. And for the contributed data, you can see the forecasts that have been contributed by individual banks, like we checked over here, as well as analysts. So in terms of the GDP forecast for the United States, you can see that for 2023, it's expected to be at 2.3. You'll notice that when I hover over this value, there is a little cue or a hint provided. And you'll see how it also tells you the ticker. You can right click, load it, and then furthermore, analyze that ticker by either seeing a graph of it, seeing a description of it, the price history of it, so on and so forth, like we've already explored the basic functionalities. You're also able to understand what are the forecasted interest rates. So here you can see the central bank rates in terms of the 3-month rate, the 2-year treasury note, as well as a 10-year treasury note, and what are the expectations. You also have the exchange rate forecast available over here. So you can see it for EUR USD spot. Information for the labor market also, which is very important and critical to the markets in terms of the unemployment numbers and the non-farm payrolls, are also available. At the bottom of your screen, you'll also be able to see the news headlines, which is basically telling us every time that any of these events were captured in the news, you're able to see that article when you click into any of these. And this is where the interface takes you to Bloomberg News and you're able to analyze the entire article. Now, if you would have noticed with respect to all of these indicators, most of them being economic events or releases like your unemployment numbers or your non-farm payrolls. These are releases that are impactful on the market, and it would be good to be alerted about these releases. So if you wanted to simply see a calendar of all of these economic releases, how could you do that on Bloomberg? We have a function known as economic calendars, simply put. You can type out economic calendars, click into the function, and you will have access to economic calendars of all upcoming economic releases across different countries. I'm going to load this for India. So I can click here into the amber text box, type in the country of my choice, select it. And now for the week going forward, I'm going to select all economic releases from this second drop down. So now you're able to see how you're able to use ECO to monitor market moving real time economic data releases. So for the week ahead, we have the CPI year on year, we have the exports year on year, the trade balance, all of these economic releases that we can analyze for the next week and be alerted in advance as well. So if I wanted to be alerted about the CPI year on year number, I can click into firstly this ticker, understand what exactly is this ticker, and then click on alert. So if any of you wanted to be alerted every time in advance of this release, on the release, etc., you can go ahead and create an alert like this. You have to just simply select your delivery options, and then that alert would be created for you, and that alert would be available for you from the alerts manager function. So to create an alert, to manage an alert, this is where you could come once you have created an alert to just simply monitor all the alerts you have. Now the 5 sections that you see over here in Eco, they allow you to one, select the calendar, two, also select the date range. So if I wanted to backdate this, I'm able to do that as well. And now you will see the entire list of all the economic releases for this chosen tenor for India. Now you have the release time column, which is displaying the time and date of the upcoming release or the backdated release in the calendar. And you're also able to see how we're able to see the period, the survey. We had an economic survey median. So these are the median numbers, the number before that. And of course, if there was a change, a revision to that particular number. So it's good to have all of this to be able to glance on really quickly and to set an alert on the same. We're looking at all economic releases. However, if you wanted to define it, say by GDP, then you can do so by selecting that particular